Are you tired of seeing the same old Isekai anime recommendations over and over again? Do you want to discover something new and exciting? If so, this video is for you. Today we will deep dive into the depths of the anime world to uncover 10 Isekai animes that you likely haven't watched before. Hundreds of years ago, the worlds of humans and demons temporarily overlapped, causing a massive catastrophe where residents from both sides crossed over. The world sunk into chaos. But now, everything is fine. In peaceful city of Sakurashin, humans and demons cohabit happily. We start episode accompanying this little blonde girl, who Black lightning roared to sky, striking many goldfish and transforming them into massive creatures. They suddenly started going loose in many parts of the city, causing the crowd to fall into chaos. Well, not really. While the mighty villains looked on with pleasure from afar, the main cast of the story took action to prevent further damage. Awo used her mind-reading abilities to locate all giant goldfish, while Kotohei used her powerful curse pitch to summon ginormous fish tanks that captured the crazy beasts. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, another lightning strike transformed one of the goldfish into the final fish boss. This is when Hime, a human girl with supernatural powers, used her ultimate ability, hit them with stick, to subdue this dangerous creature. Taking into consideration that this show is kinda old, I have to say that the animation is pretty fluid, and that's not even the most impressive thing about this anime. One thing that immediately stands out when you start watching the show is the sound effects. I'm not joking, they are almost on the level of Fire Force, and the show overall is pretty interesting. I have been waiting for this. Today, we settle our years old score. World End! Ultimatum spreading! 3-bar charge attack! Yeah, he needs to get good. After failing his quest, Kon was suddenly approached by a girl who went by the in-game name of Flora. Now, I know what you are thinking. A girl playing an MMORPG. I know, it may seem impossible, but trust me on this one. Flora was seeking help, and as a gentleman himself, Kon accepted her request, which made him be instantly transported into a new fantasy world of a bad guy. One thing that it's worth to note is that Ixion Saga DT is heavily comedy focused. Sure, there are some fights here and there, but the show is mostly about comedy. And this is where my problem with this anime lies. The thing is that the comedy isn't that great. Actually, most of the times it is pretty bad, just like almost any other comedy anime. But I would be lying to you if I didn't told you that this show somehow managed to catch my interest from the first episode to the last one. I don't know if it is thanks to the main character or to the bad comedy, I just know that somehow I watched it all. Furthermore, for an anime that is based on an online game, the show is pretty decent. In the dead of the night, two groups converge in a shadowy alley. As they begin to negotiate, one group unveils a pile of cash, while the other reveals their precious cargo, a fairy of the highest race, trapped in a jar. The deal is struck, but as the exchange takes place, the middle-aged man who bought Fairy reveals himself to be Kei, a detective from the police department. With the help of his partner, Kei moves in to make the arrest. But things take a deadly turn when one of the bandits reveals himself to be a monster from the other side, killing Kei's partner and making off with Fairy. It turns out that 50 years ago, an interdimensional gate opened in the Pacific Ocean, connecting Earth to a parallel fantasy universe. And now, Kei and Tilarna, a noble knight from another world, set out to recover the stolen Fairy and bring the killer to justice. For the quality of this anime, I just have to say that Copcraft is kinda underrated. The story has a ton of elements of police procedural with fantasy, science fiction, and even some comedy. As the plot goes forward, we will be able to see the adventures of Kei and Tilarna, as well as interaction between the two, which in my opinion is the most fun part, because the two have a fairly interesting dynamic. And if you still aren't sold on this one, let me tell you that Copcraft is directed by the same person who directed Hunter x Hunter. Overall, it is a very fun show to watch, and also one that is different from the rest, which is always great to see. In the virtual world of Union, the Subaru team reigns supreme. Led by Haruto, the team is made up of a diverse group of elite players, each with their own unique skill and abilities. However, when the team decides to take on the ultimate challenge and face the most powerful boss in Union, things take a dark turn. Asahi, a member of the group, dies in real life, at the same time that she died within the game. A lot of stuff happened, and 60 years later, Haruto discovers that Asahi has been actually reincarnated into the game. Seven Senses of the Reunion is an anime that is not very well known for everybody, and I can totally see why. It isn't a masterpiece or anything like that, but if I'm going to be honest with you, if you are willing to waste your time, then it's a good waste of time, not gonna lie. This one has an overpowered main character that is betrayed by the people that he loves. The reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world is about this overpowered badass, who after striving for power and becoming the strongest diviner alive, is betrayed by his favorite student. This led Saga to realize that he lacks something crucial that only the truly strong individuals possess: cunning. He uses one of his powerful abilities to reincarnate in another world with a single goal in mind: to become freaking Ayanokoji, aka the mastermind behind it all, that controls the world from the shadows. This one is airing right now, and so far it is pretty interesting. For the characters we have Seika, our protagonist that was reincarnated into a world of magic. Thing is that he doesn't really have magic, but he has something better. He uses his superior exorcist powers to be an overpowered menace, so everything is fine. We also have Ifa, that is made of Seika, that will accompany him through his journey. Oh, and she's pretty powerful herself, because she can control the elementals or something. We also have Amu, that is a hero of this world, and the girl that Seika will use and control. Overall, the adaptation is pretty decent. It is being made by Studio Blank, which is known for nothing. But it doesn't matter. You already know what you are expecting from an anime with this name. It is pretty enjoyable, that's all I have to say. A world with infinite possibilities. Crazy action. An overpowered main character. That's all you need, right? On his first day in an immersive virtual reality game, Reiji somehow managed to trigger a high-level quest that requires a full party of experienced players to be completed. Problem is, he is only at level 1, which makes completing this quest seem impossible. However, with the help of his brother, a seasoned veteran of the game, they set out to complete the quest by saving a young girl from a horde of monsters. I could just pound you to smithereens, but since you are here, Balder, 4th form, activate! And now he's gone. With the fate of the girl and his own life on the line, Reiji called upon the power of protagonism to awaken the embryo that he had, which transformed into a sword with the ability to fully counter all the damage he had taken. With his newfound power, Reiji was able to successfully defeat a high-level monster and complete the quest. One thing that is worth to note is that Infinity Dendrogram is not an Isekai. It is a story about a guy that plays a VR MMO, but if I'm being honest with you, this anime kinda feels like an Isekai, so I decided to include it nonetheless. The animation does a good job when it needs, and the story, well, it isn't that great. But one thing is for sure, Infinity Dendrogram is really action-packed, and there is a ton of interesting stuff to see. This one is about a boy who was kidnapped and brought to another world. The kidnappers told Kenshi that the only way to go back home is to assassinate the newly crowned empress of the empire, using a freaking huge robot. Yeah, it is a mecha anime, while at the same time being an isekai. This is the first time for me, though I don't have much experience with those. Kenshi tries his best, but ultimately the plan falls flat, and he is captured by the Empress. However, he was kinda lucky. The Empress found him to be an extremely rare and valuable pilot, so she decided not to kill him. The boy then allied himself with the Empress while attending an academy to hone his skills, and obviously tried to find a way to return home. And one thing that I have to mention is that this anime has pretty powerful female characters, something that we don't usually see. And for a show that was aired in 2010, Tenchi War on Geminar is actually pretty well animated. One of the few downsides that this series has is that it has a few cliches here and there, but well, it is an old anime, so I guess that's to be expected. I mean, hell, even Evangelion has a ton of cliches. Oh, fuck. Transported to a medieval fantasy world, Yuto found himself thrust into a barrel for survival. However, by utilizing his knowledge gained from an incredibly advanced technology, known as a solar-powered phone and internet that somehow worked in this new world, Yuto rose to the position of matriarch of the Wolf Clan. He started implementing famous war strategies and formations to change the tide of barrels, subdue the enemies, and make the Wolf Clan one of the greatest clans to ever exist. Which is a cool way to say that this is a generic isekai, focus on war. Our cast of characters is pretty complex. We have Yuto, the main character. That's basically it. No one is really important apart from the main character, even though side characters are actually overpowered, which is kinda cool. But what made me watch this anime is not overpowered side characters, neither is it the harem that the main character has. What made me watch this one was the leadership and the strategies that he uses in war, that are fairly interesting to see. All in all, I have to say that Master of Ragnarok and Blaster of Einherjar is not a good anime by any stretch of the imagination. But even though I watched it a long time ago, I remember that I had a great time, and at the end of the day, that's what we watch anime for, to have fun. Kemono Michi Rise Up is written by the same person who wrote Konosuba, so you might be interested in this one. Has crowd roars with anticipation. Genzo steps into the ring for the highly anticipated World Champion bout against his fiercest rival, but just as the match is about to begin, he is suddenly transported to a fantasy world by a desperate princess in need of a savior. With the kingdom under the threat from monstrous beasts, Genzo... You know what? I will just let you watch. Now, you can start to understand what type of anime this is. After that event just happened, the dude just escaped from the castle and teamed up with a wolf girl named Shigure, with the goal of opening a pet shop. Although written by the same person, this one is not in any way as popular as Konosuba, and I can totally see why. Despite being a great watch, throughout the whole anime, we always see the same jokes over and over again. Furthermore, there are always a bunch of new girls that keep being added to the harem, that isn't even really a harem. It isn't bad by any means, but it could be a lot better. This one is different from 99% of the Isekai anime that you have watched. With a deafening roar, a mighty red dragon returns to her lair. Her treasured hoard overflowing with piles of gold and priceless treasures. And with a sudden flare of flame, the dragon transforms into a stunning woman who lacks any type of clothes. She approached a mysterious door hidden deep within the heart of her treasure, and with a flick of her wrist, the door opens. Restaurant to Another World follows the story of a restaurant that, despite being located in the human world, opens its doors to a parallel realm every Saturday. Many fantasy creatures and mages pass through the door, and the restaurant serves as a gathering place for these people to come together and enjoy a meal. I have to say, the art style on this anime is really beautiful, and the food looks pretty succulent too. Not gonna lie, I almost feel like biting my screen. Furthermore, the interactions between the characters are really interesting. It is just a pretty awesome experience to have. The main character of this story is our master, the one that is working at a restaurant making food. But later down the line, Alette and Kuru will also start working at the restaurant as waitresses. If you didn't watch this anime yet, you really should give it a try. I'm pretty sure you will have a great time watching it. And if you still want more anime recommendations, go ahead and watch this video that I made. Here I talk about the best Isekai anime series ever made, so it is worth giving it a watch.